Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Deep Focus Show. My name's Clayton.
I'm
I'm
Tommy.
Aiden.
That's Tavi. That's Aiden. We're continuing our Spielberg coverage. It's been a minute since we've done this, about almost probably a month. We're talking about one of his more serious films. It's his 15th studio film, Schindler's List. Probably his most serious film up to this point. I guess if you want to count The Color Purple, but I don't find that movie completely serious, even though it deals with heavy topics like assault and slavery. But this is a more genuine, serious film, in my opinion. What do you guys think of it? Have you seen this before? This was my first watch.
This was my third watch. Um, I've seen it years ago on DVD. Like the watches were like very close to each other. I remember that somebody wanted to watch it me, another person, and then I watched it like twice in a month or something. And but yeah, it's been a while, and yeah, it's pretty great. I don't know what to say beforehand, but yeah.
Yeah, second time seeing it. But it had been a while, so I really wanted to see it again to, crystallize my thoughts and have a kind of, a lot to say about it. But, obviously it's one of the probably biggest movies of the 90s in many ways in terms of Best Picture, Best Director awards. I think kind of critical reputation is probably one of the highest of the decade. So yeah, a lot to get into. It's a very kind of monumental, important film. So there's a lot to discuss, I suppose.
Great, great. I'll go ahead and get started. I'm expecting you, Aiden, to like this quite a bit, given that it's in black and white. But Schindler's List, it's based on the real life story of Oskar Schindler from the book Schindler's Ark by novelist Thomas Keneally. It was nominated for 12 Academy Awards at the 66th Academy Award ceremony, including Best Actor for Liam Neeson, Best Supporting Actor for Ralph Fiennes, Best Makeup, Best Sound, Best Costume Design, and it won 7 awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Original Score, Best Film Editing, Best Cinematography, and Best Art Direction. Not sure if it deserved that many awards, but I definitely agree with Best Cinematography because this movie looks gorgeous, even if it's in black and white. There's lots of symbolism in this movie between good versus evil. I like how this movie is entirely in black and white as terms of like, you know, between good and evil. Like most Holocaust movies are uh, Nazis equals bad. But I mean, for example, take the main character of Oskar Schindler, who at first he has close relations with the Nazis, but he has a redemption arc. So there's just some shades of gray in terms of where the moral compass is here. There's lots of scenes in this movie that are pretty hard to watch. One of the things that stood out, actually, there's a lot of things that stand out. Like, for example, the Jewish worker with one arm who thanks Schindler, in that one scene is pretty uncomfortable. Obviously, there's a scene, the sequence where the ghetto is liquidated, and of course, there's one of the few scenes in color of this little girl in a red coat walking throughout the carnage. And this kind of moves Schindler, and this is the beginning of his redemption arc. The movie's about this guy who wants to hire Jewish people so he can essentially save them from the horrors that was the Holocaust. Spielberg once said that the actress of the girl in red, he told her not to watch this film until she was 18, but she saw it at age 11 and was pretty horrified. It's an interesting fact about that. Other scenes of that are just terrible. There's one scene where the Germans are shooting inside the houses, and it's just an aerial shot of the houses, and you see like The blasts of the guns inside, it's pretty horrifying. There's one scene where a person makes hinges and he's about to be executed. Um, and the Germans' guns just aren't working, and it's pretty tense. Um, Ralph Fiennes plays a heartless, ruthless, smug bastard. He's very good at it. I like the scene between Schindler and Stern about his worry of his factory being a safe haven, as the Jews say. And I love the conversation between Liam Neeson and Ralph Fiennes about power and the justification of killing people. I think that pretty much sums up the movie right there. And it's really sad to see the children hiding from the Nazis, as you know, that they hide in like these bunkers under the bed, or one of them hid in a inside of a toilet sewer, like an outhouse. But yeah, I mean, that scene where they're burning all the Jewish people, and then you see the girl in red that has passed, the girl in the red coat has passed. That's pretty horrifying and really sad. And this movie will make you just bawl your eyes out, especially the ending. It's really heartbreaking and triumphant whenever the workers find out the war is over. They pray, and of course, the final goodbye between Stern and Schindler just makes you want to bawl your eyes out. Liam Neeson nails it there. It's really interesting to see him in this serious role because I've never seen him in a role like this. Usually he's the action guy nowadays. I will say I do wish it ended at that scene between Stern and Liam Neeson because I always have qualms whenever movies based on real life are doing the "where are they now" thing. But the color sequence with the rocks on the grave, with the people who worked for Schindler, the real life people who worked for Schindler, was a nice touch. Um, I mean, this movie might be a little bit Oscar bait, but I think it holds up pretty well. I'm going 4.5 stars. Um, you probably wouldn't understand anything I talked about unless you watched the movie, but I'm assuming a lot of people have seen this movie because it's such, like Aiden was saying, just a staple of the 1990s. Um, there's a lot to discuss. What did you guys think?
Yeah, this is a damn powerful movie, I gotta say. It's like Clay said, hard to watch. But there's like an still an hopeful kind of tone sometimes. Like so, it's and uh, to me it feels very real and very horrifying. Of course, that this is basing on real life events that sadly happened, and like and yeah, I cried in the end. It's hard not to, and like with the scene with Oscar and the um Itzhak Stern, and and how he could have said more, and yeah, and uh it won, yeah, like 7 Oscars, I think, and I feel like it Ralph Fiennes should have won also, at least maybe Liam Neeson too. Um, that's to me a battle between Liam Neeson and Daniel Day-Lewis that year, but yeah, and um, Janusz Kaminski's uh, how this film looks, and it's almost feels like a documentary type of filmmaking, all the handheld stuff, and but it just gives like you're almost there. It's kind of horrifying also in that way, and the score is maybe one of the best scores to me. All the violin in this movie just breaks my heart. Uh, and like, and this is like over 3 hours, and I personally don't have problems with this length. Like to me, it goes quite smoothly, I gotta say. Um, Even if it's in some ways a harder watch, but to me it's so powerful, and it has um, a lot of going on, and just I feel like it's one of these perfect movies that stands out anytime. This doesn't feel to me a 90s movie or like and yeah, also the scene that Clay mentioned, that kind of famous now, the red girl, seeing how she walks there, and she's like the only color there, and it's kind of heartbreaking to see. And um and it's kind of, Oscar Schindler is a um definitely, it's I do like seeing his journey and how he's kind of like on the edge of where he belongs in some ways at the beginning. And you can, even in the first scene, he's like in this, I don't know, some party where there's the German troops and all, and he just, maybe the first scene that we look at him, he just kind of watches how they act, and that Nazis there, and you can kind of see already that he's definitely not on the same side or the ideology, but he also kind of, I don't know, not saying he has to be, but in some ways, um, to save those lives, he kind of had to be on the uh, sort of almost on Nazi's side, even if he kind of wasn't. But so it's definitely an interesting figure, and yeah, it's a, yeah, I don't know what to say. It's a, to me, a pretty perfect film that I'm not sure when I'm gonna watch it again, but maybe like every 5 years, and it's gonna bring out the same emotions. And to me, this is probably the best Spielberg film, but not my favorite. I feel like Raiders is my favorite, but this is probably, if I have to say, his best, at least so far. I haven't seen all of the, but maybe it is. Yeah, Ada, what did you think? 5 stars. Sorry, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, for me, that this is, it belongs to a class of films that are so kind of universally acclaimed and well regarded that it's easy to slip into saying, oh, well, it's not as good as the reputation suggests. But no, that's just wrong. It is, if anything, better than the reputation suggests. Um, just everything about the film is perfect in terms of the filmmaking, the characters, the storytelling. There's no problems. I mean, the character, the main character, Oscar Schindler, his arc is so well done, and the way that he transforms across the course of the film is amazing, and you buy it the whole way because of the long runtime, which is a great decision. This, I don't think this movie would work if it wasn't 3 hours. It needs that much time to tell its story. Um, and it really doesn't shy away from the horror of the Holocaust and of that period of history. I mean, the 20-minute scene of the liquidation of the Warsaw Ghetto is one of the highlights because of just how brutal and harsh it is. Obviously, it's talked to death, but the way Spielberg is using color here with the red dress, it's a super iconic element, but divorcing its kind of fame and its status from the actual content of the movie, it's so strong as this symbol of I guess Schindler's change of heart and how he I guess the way I interpret it is, it's kind of I read Spielberg said it was a representation of the way that the countries in the lead up to World War II saw things coming and didn't do anything to stop it, which I guess you can read it that way. I'm not really sure the way I take it, but I think it's definitely very powerful in terms of how it moves his character. I think my favorite scene is actually one of the ones near the end where Schindler has to just like meltdown about the button and how he could have gotten one more person in to his factory if he had exchanged that and the car and all that. It's such a I think in another director's hands it could be such a kind of like hacky, cheap emotional scene, just like, oh, I couldn't save anyone. But Spielberg adds so much depth to it that it becomes one of the most powerful scenes in the movie, my favorite, but there's so many great ones that it's like um yeah, it's perfect. I mean, I really don't know because Spielberg has so many perfect movies up to this point, but definitely on that kind of level of like a serious experience. I think this is definitely one of the best, maybe the best. Yeah, either this or Saving Private Ryan, which I guess we'll get to, which are kind of doing similar things in terms of the filmmaking, in terms of presenting this epic full of drama and character, which Spielberg really excels at. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with the full 5 stars. I don't think it's a movie that has really any problems, and I think it's one that merits its label as one of the greatest films of all. I mean, one of the rare films that transcends the context of when it was made and becomes universal in a sense.
I was kind of surprised that Clay found it Oscar baiting.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't know about that one. But
I'm not sure how Saving Private Ryan will hold up, but there's also those scenes with the candles that are in color. I really like that. That's a nice touch.
yeah, yeah,
It's just
yeah.
one of those movies, like I'd give it a 5 star rating, but I don't see myself returning to it because it's just it's such an emotionally draining watch, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but our next one is going to be The Lost World, I think. Jurassic Park.
Yeah. I
oh
yeah,
my.
yeah. Very different.
I know I said in the last Jurassic Park episode that the second one was my favorite, but I'm not sure, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Thanks everybody. Leave your comments. What do you think of this movie? Did you cry as well? Because all three of us did. So yeah, keep us
Keep
uh
watching.
keep watching. All right. Thanks everybody.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Peace.